Chelsea defeat Manchester City 1-0 in the Champions League final. Ngolo Kante wins man of the match. He was masterful. He was everywhere. He completely dominated that midfield. He was amazing. He won man of the match both home and away in the semifinals. He won man of the match in the finals. He's definitely in the contention for the Ballon d'Or. He is a monster. That whole back line was amazing. Rudiger, Reece James, Azpilicueta, Ben Chilwell, Thiago Silva before he left hurt. Even Christensen when he came back. It was just, that back line was amazing. Also want to give Reece James a shout out. He had Sterling in his pocket. Sterling is still in his pocket. They're now in the England concentration. They're in the England camp, ahead of the Euros, and I'm pretty sure Sterling's having nightmares of Reece James still. He's in the line. He's in that English camp, in line trying to get some lunch. He sees Reece James. He's ducking him. He's still, Reece James is haunting Sterling to this day. It was just a masterful performance by Reece James. He completely dominated that right side of the field. He was amazing. Also, El Capi, Azpilicueta had a great game. That's the grit. That's the heart that I want my captain to play with. He got a little hurt. He got a little nicked up in the second half, and he came back. He stayed in the game. Great game by Azpilicueta. I'm happy that he's a champion one more time. And Chelsea, Tuchel just put on a masterclass. His lineup was great. City only had one goal, one shot on target. Just goes to show how well Tuchel planted his men. Shout out to Pulisic for being the first American to play in the Champions League final. Shout out to Pulisic. He's the second to ever win it, first to play. American soccer is on the rise. We'll touch on that in another episode, the growth of the U.S. soccer. But Pulisic, just another highlight for U.S. men's soccer. And Tuchel, these German coaches just come back. German coaches are good. We've seen it with Klopp. We've seen it with him. We've seen it with Tuchel. He loses the final last year with PSG. He gets sacked by them. He takes over this Chelsea team that was underperforming with Lampard. And he just finishes top 4 in the Premier League, loses the final of the FA Cup against Leicester, and now he wins the Champions League final. Tuchel, just an amazing, amazing job going to that back three, putting Azpilicueta back into the lineup. And Mendy deserves some credit too. He didn't have a lot to do this final, but he had been amazing all season long for Chelsea. That was one of the key signings this season. Moving away from Kepa and allowing Mendy to be the starting keeper. So a lot of praise for Chelsea. Kante, Azpilicueta, Tuchel. Shout out to Havertz, who didn't have the best season at all. This is not what Chelsea fans expected from him, but he had a great final. He scored the winner. Great goal. Shout out to Havertz. Warner, he missed another 2 chances in the Champions League final. I predicted that he was gonna redeem himself for all the misses he's had this season. I predicted that he was gonna go from 0 to hero in the Champions League final, but he did not. He missed 2 pretty decent chances. He didn't have the best of games. I believe Cisic didn't even play. So all these signings that Chelsea haven't even reached their full potential, and they're Champions League winners. It just goes to show how good of a coach Tuchel is. Chelsea could be real scary next season if they get everyone into form, with another transfer window, with that defense just being super solid. We'll see what City does, but Chelsea just winning Champions League with their key signings this offseason not in their best form. It's an amazing accomplishment, and I wish them the best. I think they're going to be one of the protagonists next season in the Premier League, and it's just an amazing, amazing accomplishment for Chelsea, being the 3rd team to win the Champions League twice. And for all the praise I gave Chelsea, and that was a lot of praise. Shout out to Chelsea. Now comes the criticism of Guardiola. He tried to get cute again. He tried to be a genius. He tried to, steal the attention. He was a little arrogant with his lineup, in my opinion. There was a tried and true method that he had the whole season, and he tinkered with it. it's a blasphemy. It's criminal that he stepped into that field without a defensive midfielder. He had played one all season, either Rodri or Fernandinho, which are both still. Fernandinho still class. Rodri's a really good player, but that defensive midfielder role is important. It's the backbone of his whole formation, and he played without a defensive midfielder. And another one was starting Sterling. Once I saw that lineup, I was at a bar, so I couldn't really hear what the pregame announcement was going. So I wasn't really. Maybe they touched on it before the game started, but once they showed the lineup before the game kicked off and I saw Sterling and I saw no defensive midfielder, I was like, oh my God, here we go again. Here we go with Pep trying to be a genius. People say he overthinks it. I don't think he overthinks it. I think he knows exactly what he's doing. He wants to come out of these games as the genius, as the hero. Like, if this would have worked out, if he would have played all these wingers, Sterling, Foden, Mahrez, De Bruyne, Silva, and if they would have like just demolished Chelsea, like let's say they won 3-0, the media would have sang his praises. They would have said, damn, look at Pep, the genius that he is, because the media really likes him. They would have said, look at Pep, the genius that he is, just completely overwhelming that Chelsea defense. Chelsea didn't concede, only conceded 2 goals all Champions League season since Tuchel took over. And look how smart Pep was, just overloading on offensive players, just completely overwhelming that defense. And he forgot to play a defensive midfielder, and it cost him the game, because the hole that was there when Havertz ran through the middle of that defense was caused because there was no defensive midfielder. Stones stepped up into the midfield, left the gap. Diaz stepped into the gap. Shevchenko wasn't aware. He let Havertz run across his body, and Chelsea 1-0. City never looked like they had their shape all game long. Kevin De Bruyne left hurt, but he was a ghost before he left. I don't blame him completely. I feel like really not having a defensive midfielder just kind of clogged up the top. No one really knew the role. They needed that defensive midfielder to really hold down the middle, and everyone could play off him. So I think at the end of the day, Guardiola tried to get cute, tried to put his stamp all over this final, and it cost him. And Tuchel did the opposite. He let his players play in their preferred positions. He kept it simple. He gave them a specific game plan, and they executed and they won. And it just goes to show how good of a coach Tuchel is. And I think for my money, I think Guardiola is a little overrated. Yeah, he's one of the better coaches out there, but people have him so high up in their standings, in their rankings of coaches. And he has not won a Champions League in 10 years. He has not won one without Messi, Xavi, or Iniesta. And he's coached the elite teams in Europe. He took over a treble team in Bayern Munich. He took over City with an open checkbook that will get him any players. If you look at all the transfers that he's done, he's spending over 50 million pounds, million euros, $1 million on all these players, not just for starters, for depth, for bench players, for players that don't even play sometimes. That City squad is definitely better than that Chelsea squad. He had the better squad on Saturday, and he couldn't get it done. He had the better squad last year against Lyon, and he couldn't get it done. He had the better squad against Tottenham 2 years ago or 3 years ago. He couldn't get it done. And yeah, it's great that he's winning all these Carabao Cups. And yeah, it's great that he's winning the league pretty consistently. But at the end of the day, they hired Pep to win Champions League, because if there's anything that City needs, it's to get a European championship to really validate themselves as a European giant. Because for all the money that they spent, for all the oil money, they need a European championship to really put themselves at the top of the European pyramid. Local, domestic titles are good, but they're not enough, especially with the budget that City has. And, Pep hasn't done it in 10 years, and we'll see if he gets it done next year or the next year. How long is this leash going to be with City? Because they were already winning Premier League titles without him. They were winning League Cups without him, and they got him for the sole purpose of getting them Champions League. And it's another failure, and it's another head scratcher. And it's not like I'm the only one saying this. There's everybody Everybody was like, what? Why is he starting Sterling? An out of form Sterling that hadn't been starting, that hadn't been playing. The only reason he started a few games at the end of the season was because City had already wrapped up the title and he was just rotating players, keeping them fresh. And we all knew Sterling wasn't in his best form, and he goes ahead and starts him. He tries to get cute, and it cost him. It cost City. Shout out to Chelsea. They played a great game. It was an entertaining final. I believe it was a better final than last year's. Shout out to Chelsea. They're going to be scary moving forward. We'll see if all their signings get into rhythm. But for my money, Guardiola is a little overrated. That nickname that people give him, Fraudiola, I think it fits. Especially it fits because people have him regarded as the best thing since sliced bread. They have him as the best coach in the world. And as a Real Madrid fan, it pains me to see how people don't view Zidane as one of the better coaches. They just think he's like a people person. He just knows how to control emotions of players and stuff like that. They don't think he's the best X's and O. But what he's done, in my opinion, has been more impressive than what Guardiola has done. And yeah, Guardiola is a good coach. Don't get me wrong. But a lot of coaches could have gotten it done with that Barcelona team. A lot of coaches would have done great things with that Bayern team. We've seen what Bayern has done since he's left. Before he's been there, since he's left. Since he's left, they've already won a Champions League, and they keep winning the Bundesliga, and they keep winning cups. And City, they're basically doing the same thing right now as they were before, maybe more consistently. And they're breaking records, they're scoring over 100 points and doing all this great stuff. But at the end of the day, they're just winning domestic titles, and they need to get a Champions League title to really validate what they're doing. Is it going to be Guardiola? Is he going to end up back in Barcelona? We'll see. But for now, he's definitely, in my opinion, at least the last few years, Fraudiola.